It's so great to connect with you, Olivia. Thank you for the time and what you're going to share with us. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
So, yeah, so we're doing interviews to help people get a better sense of PSYCH-K from not just the instructors, but those that have taken the workshops and have personally experienced it. So, curiosity, it's always fun to hear. How did PSYCH-K find you?
Okay, so PSYCH-K basically, short and sweet, found me through Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief. I think when I went to basic, that was, I want to say about 80% of the responses. But I think if I really looked back, I've been a student of sort of these concepts building up in my personal and professional life. I've just kind of always been interested in energy, energetics. My dad is a quantum physicist. So we have, just always explored some next level thinking. And so it just kind of found me, I think, more than
Right. A lot of people say it finds us. We don't go looking for it. It finds us. And then it resonates. It resonates with you.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So with the variety of experiences you've had with PSYCH-K, how would you define PSYCH-K?
So I batted this around quite a bit because it's really hard to put it into a box, and it's very individualized. And I also think that it's very individualized based on what you use it for. Right. So what I would use it for, even myself today, I would define it today contextually, and then maybe a year from now, I would define it in something else. So I'm going to use terminology that I think I kind of probably came up with on my own, which is get ready. I call it functional neuronal, so neurons, reprogramming of limiting beliefs.
Okay, that works.
That's what I came up with.
Okay.
And breaking that down, it just means that it's a system to functionally reprogram the way that your neurons fire and process information that we typically have in the past, we have learned through patterning in our early years that have led us down certain paths, and we've arrived at limiting beliefs. Right. And PSYCH-K has helped us to kind of knit into other paths, and we get to reprogram functionally based on what we would like to have those paths entail.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it because it gives us choice. Yes. It doesn't mean, well, who you are today is who you have to continue to be, but you can rewrite those neurons, and then all decisions are different after that. Choices.
100%. And I think part of that, I don't know if you're going to get into this too, but I think if I were to look back at like my pre-PSYCH-K life to my post-PSYCH-K life, I think that's one thing that I could really say is my takeaway is that I thought that life was just going to occur as a result of whatever I've already accumulated, and probably like a lot of effort that I was going to be putting into my life. And this has really changed that perspective in a great deal. So before, I was just kind of like operating on a system that had already been programmed, whereas now it's something completely different. So.
That's beautiful. Good. Thank you. Yeah, it would, the question would be, and you just started down that path, is what has changed for you? What are things that you've noticed either for yourself personally or clients that you've worked with? And that can be around, physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental. So because PSYCH-K addresses all of that, as you referenced before. So anything you want to share? I mean, I know you have tons of stories. So pick one good, juicy one out. And let us know.
Oh, man. I mean, so for me personally, I just have to say, like, there isn't a realm that it hasn't changed. So I can't pick one.
Yeah.
For me personally, I have absolutely transformed, my physical health, my mental health, my finances. I mean, I've manifested large amounts of money just miraculously. Um, and so I think I just shared this with you, but I think one of the biggest things that I'm personally working on, but that I just broke through for myself, but with a client was, I'm going to get emotional because I do every time, but working with a child learning to read.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually interesting because when there's a lot involved, believe it or not, in our scholastic pursuits, not just like can you or can't you. And PSYCH-K has a few tools that you can use to reprogram some sensory processing issues. Mm-hmm. And I was able to work with one of my client's siblings to get her on the path to beginning to read. When the day that I started working with her, she had just gotten a 26% on her reading test and was being referred to for specialists.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going to be getting a referral for some behavioral modifications and things like that. But I was able to balance her, and she read to me in balance. And I mean, yeah.
It was such a magnificent, magnificent.
Yeah. And I mean, and so I think for me also, just genuinely speaking, I think one of the experiences for me is feeling the power of this practice. Just really takes me away every time that I do it, and I'm sitting with anyone, is just watching these limiting beliefs just disintegrate in front of you, and holding that space, that assumatok space for people, and watching them realize their potential is really also been just a beautiful gift in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to watch someone, like the child not being able to read and very frustrated, to within minutes being able to read the hardest book, I think is what you told her to go get. And it's just, and the emotion is valid. I mean, it's just so phenomenally beautiful when you can help a child or an adult of any age shift from a fear or frustration or a challenge and see themselves doing it. The possibilities just are wide open. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So as you moved into taking the workshops, and whether that was basic or advanced that you've taken, did you have any, maybe with the first workshop, did you have any doubts or questions? It's like, is this going to work? Or, what was kind of some of, people have those doubts. So I'm just going to ask you if you had doubts and what you might tell them now.
For sure. So, okay. So I do not make decisions snap at all, ever. And so I found out about this practice, and the practitioner that I looked up offered private sessions. And then I saw this like random weekend that she did where you could like get a whole bunch of training in a weekend. And I thought, okay, well, that's more efficient if I just go there, so my subconscious was kind of like, let's just, prevent this overthinking. Because I tell people that I accidentally went to training. And so I'll say that to say that, I think if I were to tell anyone, who is interested in this, is to experience, I think would be to experience a session first, and then to see if they would be interested in becoming a facilitator and going to a workshop. But for me, I fell head first into going to a workshop, and I meditated on it for a full year. The most transforming thing of my life, the biggest tool that I take with me everywhere, I batted that thing around daily. I prayed about it for a year. And I was like, absolutely not. And what's interesting is you were not my facilitator the first time. You should bless your lucky stars. I got so many psychosomatic symptoms. And I think it's valid to mention, because your subconscious will do this to you when you are setting out to do something that's different than, you know, what you've been practicing. You know, all that fear can manifest in different ways. And for me, it came up physical. So I got what I thought was like an ear infection. My ears hurt. And my facilitator at the time was like, there's something you're refusing to hear. And I was like, oh, thank you. And so just that knowing gave me the permission to release that fear and to be as fully present. So I think what I would say to someone who is just really apprehensive is that they can experience sessions on their own terms, number one. And number two, just to be willing and open to, you know, whatever comes up, to fully express that. We've all been through those fears. We know what they are. We know what they mean. We can hold space for you. And we can get you through to the other side.
Exactly.
They're very temporary.
Right. Yes. Thank you. That was the point I was going to make.
They're very temporary.
In the workshop on occasion, not everybody, not all the time, but on occasion. Exactly. But we use the tools and the methods. And the question to you is, all right, what are you not willing to hear was a great example.
Absolutely.
And you work with these processes to immediately transform that. And boom, that earache is gone. You know?
Absolutely. It was gone within, I mean, it was almost gone as soon as she said that, but it was gone within an hour or so when it started. And beautiful. I just knew that I was in an accepting space. But yeah, it's just being aware, of, you know, the pushback, the initial pushback that we might have when you're going to be going into, you know, something that offers a change in your life. May not initially be like rainbows and bunnies, but you know, but it's it's worth the commitment.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything about PSYCH-K that you personally have found challenging? I mean, we're trying to keep this as real as possible, you know, so it doesn't come across as it's the solution to everything. I mean, there's,
so it's interesting because I meditated on that question for a little bit, and I'll be very honest with you. The most challenging thing about PSYCH-K is how simple it is.
I love that. I love that.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is the most challenging thing to be as simple as it can be.
We have such a pattern, and I had to work through that too, of if it's complex, it's really good and it's really powerful. And if it's simple, it's not that important. You know, I think we get programmed with that in some way. So thank you for sharing, because it is okay, simple, but it is powerful.
It is. And I think that really in my answer, and the more that I practice this, the more that it really resonates with me, that Rob Williams really, you know, the concept is that we're in flow with nature, right? There's a simplicity and a patterning and a flow to nature. Nature doesn't rush, right? Nature doesn't overthink. Nature doesn't have like, you know, it should be doing this, or, you know, it doesn't have these expectations. Oh, like I didn't grow, you know, the grass isn't like, I didn't grow enough today. I didn't, you know, I didn't make enough dollars today.
Right. Or you look better, your flower looks better than my flower.
You know, and so, you know, are you in flow with nature? And really, like, that is the fundamental piece that we are as human beings. And the more levels removed we are from that, I think is where we spin out with our subconscious. And the more that we can bring back and be one with, you know, united with peace and oneness, I think is where the simplicity really is.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Olivia. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So we've got, you know, two Yeah, excellent. We've got two ways, and you mentioned it earlier, that people can access PSYCH-K. One is through the workshops, which, like, I'm an instructor, and so we teach the workshops, and from that they become, like you, a facilitator, where they can work with other people. Do you do, I believe you do private sessions.
I do.
So would you like to give an email out that people can contact you if they wanted to do a private session with you?
For sure. I'm in the Tampa Bay area and East Coast time. I have conducted several sessions over Zoom throughout COVID. I also I have no COVID restrictions either, so I'm fine to be in person. And you can reach me at CatalyzedTransformation@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it.